Good evening, everyone. This is the fourth chakra class, and it's week 4, although we've been going every other week. And I hope you had a wonderful week with the third chakra. Tonight is really about love. So it's the power of the love connection. I am loved. And so in the fourth chakra, we have the element of air. So in the first chakra was the element of earth and grounding. The second chakra was water and the emotions. And the fourth chakra is air. The third chakra was fire. And the name of the fourth chakra is Anahata, which you definitely don't need to know, but in some yoga classes they may refer to it as that. And the purpose of love, of the fourth chakra, is really love and balance. And these are issues of love, balance, self-love, relationship, intimacy, devotion, reaching out and taking in. It's located in your chest, in the heart and the cardiac plexus. And the demon of the fourth chakra is grief. And so the basic right is to love and be loved. And so the affirmations are, I am worthy of love, I am loved, there is an infinite supply of love, and I live in balance with others. Physical malfunctions are disorders of the heart, lungs, thymus, breast, and arms. We think about, cardiac disease being the top 3rd killer in the United States. Shortness of breath, a sunken-in chest, circulation problems, asthma, and immune system deficiency. Now the chakras, as we've also noticed in the 1st through 3rd, can be in excess or in deficiency. And in excess, we're looking at codependency, poor boundaries, demanding, clinging, jealous, or overly sacrificing. And with a chakra deficiency, we're looking at antisocial, withdrawn or cold, critical and judgmental, intolerant of self, loneliness and isolation, depression, fear of intimacy and fear of relationships, and lack of empathy and narcissism. So this is what happens with chakra deficiency. Now, what are the healing practices for the fourth chakra? One is breathing exercises, pranayama, working with the arms, like reaching out and taking in, journaling and self-discovery, emotional release of grief, forgiveness when appropriate, and self-acceptance. As a culture, we may be driven by power, as we talked about in the third chakra, but we're also driven by a need for love. And this chakra is easily damaged, diminished, or wounded very easily. So wounds to the fourth chakra really affect both mind and body and soul. And love is simple, perhaps the most powerful force on the planet, yet it's elusive. So this is a quote from Bob Kearney, who's CEO of Dignity Health. Unexpected kindness is the most powerful, the least costly, and most underrated agent of human change. Isn't that beautiful? So really the kindness of the heart, which can be one of the most powerful agents of human change. This is a quote from Paul Ferrini from the book Unconditional Love. The language of love is not the language of words. A few simple words and heartfelt gestures are enough to convey your love and acceptance of another person. Words and concepts will not open your heart. Only love can open your heart. When you open to the love that is available to you and extend it freely to others, the words that you need will be given to you. You will not have to struggle to know what to say or what to do. When love is in your heart, the path opens before you. Actions flow spontaneously from you. There is no self-consciousness. ambivalence, or deliberation. For these are not the qualities of love. Love is unconditional and direct. It always finds the beloved, even when she's hiding. I just love that description of love. And it's true, you know, there's certain things in life, and you can start with the most simplest. Clothes shopping. You know, you try on a dress and you're like, oh my God, I love this, or I don't, you know. And then there's food. There's certain food that you love, right? There's a pet or an animal, especially if you've ever gone to the Humane Society and picked out an animal, and you just know, you see it. And then, of course, your spouse or a dear friend, there's that immediate, like, affiliation, that immediate affection when you first meet somebody, without the words. Fourth chakra. Our predominant myth is one of separation, and we see ourselves as separate from nature, separate from each other, and separate from the divine. So this is, you know, we were born into, and in the Jewish myth, they talk about there was togetherness, and then everything became broken apart and separate. We kind of have, you know, Adam and Eve and the separation and the garden. So there's this whole idea that Father Sky and Mother Earth are separated. So separations are created, and then they're created further by race, by class, by gender, by age. We have all these distinctions and delineations, different definitions and ways in which we you know, who we are with, who's separate from the other. And then individuals are endowed with the moral right, even encouragement to do whatever is necessary to further our own individual existence. And part of even this class, you know, I'm encouraging you to have your own individual existence. But it's interesting because within the chakras, there's also a coherence. So even though there's individuation, let's say your energy from other people's energy, or present time from past time or future time. But there's also a coherence, which is where there's an awareness of everything whole and complete around you. So our love model is flawed, and with our marriages repeating an epidemic divorce, collectively it seems that as a society that we're falling out of love. And we all know the deep, deep pain of that. And falling out of love pierces the very core of our being and carves a hole in our soul, crippling the spirit when we fall out of love. It is totally crippling. And in our disconnection, we can barely relate to all the other tragedies that are happening in the world. So it's hard for us to, you know, think about the remainder of the suffering. So what we're really needing is a love resurgence. Is love something we have to resurrect as a culture? Is relating deeply, feeling fully, and understanding deeply something that is valued? You know, we tend to be a self-centered society, and we're becoming alienated, hostile, defensive, self-centered, and compulsively consuming. The result is isolation, constriction, and limitation. The ground that holds us becomes shaky, and the energy that evolves us is restricted to traditional patterns that support the myth of separation. In our isolation, we are lost from our spiritual core and lost from the heart. So how are we going to find our way back, you know? Well, you know, one way we can immediately find our way back is when we actually fall in love. And so that feeling of falling in love it's a feeling of total enchantment, you know, with life itself, with the other person. It's a road to a wider consciousness that opens up. We're stripped of our defenses, we're lifted out of our self-centered habits, and we're propelled into an enlarged view of the world. And love melts our rigid attitudes and alters our psychic structure. So we see things anew. Colors are enhanced, places take on a new meaning, and interests of the beloved become interests of our own. And then there's balance. So in ancient tantric diagrams, they depict the heart chakra as a lotus of 12 petals containing a 6-pointed star between 2 interlacing triangles. And this represents the downward movement of the spirit into matter and the upward liberation of matter into spirit, meeting in the perfect balance in the heart. So more than just a meeting, this is an interpenetration whose final goal is integration of spirit and mind with body and soul. As above, so below. The heart chakra is the middle point in the system of the 7 chakras. There's a balance between the various aspects of ourselves. It's really, it's balance between our persona, our personality, and our shadow. Balance between our male part and our female. Our work and our play, our giving and our receiving, and our socializing and our alone time. So just taking a piece of paper now, and I highly encourage you to get a piece of paper and a pen, because we're going to do a series of self-assessments. And so part of the, and then I'd like you to bring your issues with you that you've written down to your energy medicine session on the 4th chakra, or use some time to reflect and do some self-healing. So just going from 0 to 100%, if you were to quickly assess how integrated is your heart from 0 to 100%, just write that number down. Excellent, good. So with an excessive 4th chakra, there's the codependency, poor boundaries, demanding, clinging, jealousy, being overly sacrificing. You can kind of see, do you tend towards the excess or the deficient? And sometimes we go back and forth. So with excessive, the love is like desperate in its need for constant reassurance. Do you love me? Do you love me? It doesn't uphold another's freedom to be who they are. And it is a love that can be used like a drug, where the goal is to get high and remove ourselves from our responsibilities and unresolved pain. And when we use love to compensate for the incompleteness in ourselves. So that's where there's that obsessive quality, about the other person as being the answer to all of your joys. And this is an interesting illumination or story from Amadea Jewett's book, Western Body, Western Mind, and much of this material is from that book. She did a visit to her mom. And so, this is how it shows up in a mother-daughter relationship in terms of being excessive. So when she was asked, how was your visit with your mom, she said, well, I gained 5 pounds. And what happened? Well, Mom kept wanting to take care of me, to feed me, to do everything for me. And if I objected, she got terribly hurt, claiming that I was rejecting her love. So I ate food when I wasn't hungry, I didn't do my normal workout routine, and I didn't return to my business class, and I got behind on everything. So that's an example of how an excessive 4th chakra doesn't really give the other person freedom. Jealousy also stems from the demanding and possessive nature of an excessive heart chakra, and when love can become an obsession. And then there's 4th chakra deficiency. This would be like antisocial, withdrawn, cold, critical and judgmental, intolerant of self, loneliness and isolation, depression, fear of intimacy and fear of relationships, lack of empathy, and narcissism, and was it deficient. And it responds to wounds of love by withdrawing. The heart becomes a closed system and conditional. And it says, if you don't treat me better, I won't give you any more love. Feeling depleted to begin with, a deficient heart wants others to make the first move. And this is where judgment can come in with the deficient heart. In the deficient 4th chakra, there's going to be judgment as a way of justifying distance from others and defending against closeness. And we may judge ourselves with a lack of compassion. So there may be self-judgment. So, reflecting, and you may want to write on that page, or do you think that you tend toward the excessive or the deficient? Okay, intimacy, as Thomas More aptly points out, is about bringing forth deeply interior aspects of the self. And in order to have intimacy, we need to know our own interior, our own needs, wishes, fears, boundaries, and hopes. So the most common block in the heart chakra is the absence of self-love. And self-love is the foundation for loving others. Without examining what has been, we are destined to repeat it. This often leads to recovering memories, working through traumas, releasing stored tensions, and completing unresolved emotional transactions. So this is what makes up intimacy. So there's going to be some self-assessment here. So getting your paper out, how would you rank yourself in terms of your scale of intimacy from 0 to 100%? Where do you normally lie? And just write that down. And then what areas would be most helpful to get you to 100%? And actually, I'm gonna break it down to like intimacy with self and intimacy with others. And so would releasing stored tension help you? Would completing unresolved emotional tensions help you? Integrating male and female balance help you? And addressing unresolved traumas help you? And then there's the anima and the animus. So the anima is the archetypal energy of the inner female. And the animus is the inner masculine. Both genders carry each archetype. So in the advanced class, I'll be covering male and female energy. And I've probably mentioned it. We all have male energies and female energies. The male energy is direct, it's focused, it's motivated, driven, organized. The female energy is more mystical, spacious. I call it like poetry time, creative, receptive, very receptive. And both genders are going to carry each archetype. So this is like the stereotype of the docile female with the strong, silent man. And this is fed to us through movies, romance novels, advertising, and television. So animus is really what a man should be. It's the strong, rational, tough, independent, successful, cool, unemotional man, and he projects his anima onto his girlfriend, and she's supposed to do the feeling and supporting work, maintaining the emotional quality of the relationship. It's projected in the ideal state. The man may criticize any independent behavior of the female. And anima is where a woman expects her man to be flawlessly powerful, accomplished, and heroic. And she rejects the nice guy when he shows feeling or softness. The anima and animus are more related to the concept of opposites in the developed self rather than the actual gender. And then there's resolution, so the inner marriage of our anima and animus. And this inner alchemical marriage, as Jung described it, is another step in the individuation process. Lack of balance is experienced as pressure, frustration, and stress, leading to resentment and erosion of openness and goodwill. So kind of going back to what this dynamic is, in the third chakra we have the dynamic of holding on and letting go. And in the fourth chakra we have the dynamic of reaching out and taking in. And fear and grief can block both of these responses and eventually block the heart chakra itself. So another time for you to self-assess, just what's your intuitive feel and how comfortable you are with reaching out. Are you mildly comfortable, moderately comfortable, really comfortable? An example of this is, I remember a time when I had moved to a cottage in the Redwoods near Mount Tam in the Bay Area, in Marin County, San Francisco area. And it was storming, and I was living alone, and the trees were rubbing against the deck, and I could hear them, and I was afraid that a power line would blow down and I would just be stranded. I was afraid, and I wanted a friend to come spend the night with me, and I just called my friend who lived an hour away, and she got in the car and drove over at 11 o'clock at night. So that was reaching out, some people are good at that. They ask for comfort when they need it, and other people don't tend to do that. So could you improve in this area? And what's blocking you? And then how comfortable are you taking in or receiving? Sometimes we get compliments and we brush them aside, or someone offers to help you and you don't really let yourself receive. And could you improve in this area? And then what's blocking you from receiving? Do you have any fear in your heart chakra that's blocking you, or any grief? So just asking yourself those questions. How comfortable are you with reaching out? Could you improve in this area? What's blocking you? How comfortable are you with taking in? And could you improve in this area? And what's blocking you? And do you have any fear in your heart chakra that's blocking you, or grief? Definitely past heartbreaks, loss of a loved one can affect the heart chakra. So the struggle is we need attachment and we need freedom, and there's often a longing, both a longing for attachment and a fear of commitment. And one part of us finds security in the body and in familiarity and permanence, while another part might resent it. And there can be clinging and restlessness. The more we allow one kind of energy, the more the other can come through. So the resolution, when there's commitment, we allow a partner, there's solitude or freedom. But when our freedom is respected, then we can make more of a commitment. So another, self-assessment question is, do you have a balance between commitment and freedom? What's your intuitive answer? And what do you need more of? It's so interesting. I just looked up into the sky, and there's two clouds, like a giant X for balance in the sky. It's really amazing. Grief. Grief, the demon of the heart. So when we fall in love, we strip ourselves of our defenses and we open to another, into the world, and we expand and grow. And when we are hurt in matters of love, we are hurt in our most vulnerable, trusting aspects, and the purest form of self is wounded. It no longer seems safe to be authentic. Our self is wounded at the very core. It shuts down And we lose not only our lover, but ourselves as well. And this is the deepest loss. So is this something that's a lie for you now, this amount of grief? Or is it something that you've had in the past that maybe still needs to be worked out? And this can go all the way back to infancy. So what's our healing tool? Our healing tool really is compassion. And compassion means to have passion with, and the passion to understand another's needs. And once we're secure in our own autonomy and empowered, we can surrender willingly towards altruism. And once our own needs have been met and satisfied, we can share our fullness with the other person. So are you secure in your autonomy? This is another thing to write down on your paper. How are you with the autonomy of your sense of self, your self-intimacy, and also the base, first three chakras, your finances, your sense of security, your feeling states and creativity, your empowerment, sense of empowerment. And then do you exercise compassion? And what's that optimum balance of compassion for you? Do you need to exercise more compassion than you are or less? As a physician, I went through a period where I had to kind of take breaks from compassion. I found that if I was exerting my compassion all day long, and when I didn't really have support outside, like I wasn't really receiving back that much outside of work, it would really, really drain me. So I had to have periods of kind of re-nourishing myself back where I wasn't concerned about someone else who was in a difficult situation. And then devotion. So there's an act of selfless love and conscious surrender to a greater force beyond yourself. And this can, vary depending on someone's religious background or beliefs. Of course, the most obvious one would be Christianity, with a devotion to Jesus Christ or Mother Mary or the saints. In other traditions, it can just be more of a sense of God, the all-knowing. And then it can be a little bit more abstract in things like non-dualism. It can be more like a devotion to the truth. And we're allowing the energy within the self to flow beyond the self. And this transcends our perceived limitations. It's a spiritual act of egoless surrender. There's a dark side of devotion, and we may find it easier to be directed by the will of another, in which case our third chakra becomes depleted, when there's an excessive outpouring of the fourth. And if the object of our worship should leave, then we fall from grace or reject, and we're devastated. For those of you who can see the slide, that's a great photo, Stephanie. So, we can be totally devastated if we're overly devoted and that person falls from their pedestal. And that's when we really lose our own sense of empowerment, because we've kind of leaned into that devotion, putting the other, we've given them too much of our third chakra energy away. So another self-assessment question here is your third and fourth chakra balanced? And how would you rank the presence of devotion in your life from 0 to 100%? And what would increase your devotion? And is your sense of devotion in balance with your third chakra? And why not? and then what would bring it into balance. Good questions. Okay, then there's this dilemma between autonomy versus shame and initiative versus guilt. This really happens in our childhood. So if we lack initiative as a child, and then we're dependent upon the reactions of others, and we play a passive role. We tend to play a passive role in relationships. But with a healthy first through fourth chakra, we can have a sense of direction and purpose, and a healthy sense of self, and the ability to cooperate with family, friends, and a larger community. So with the fourth chakra, the adult development of the heart chakra results in a transcendence of the ego. And there's an integration of the higher and lower chakras, and the creation of the sacred marriage of masculine and feminine, and development of social empathy and altruism. It is the achievement of balance within as we integrate our many sub-personalities and the expression of that balance through our relationships with others. Indeed, the fourth chakra is the gateway to spiritual fulfillment and personal mastery, and its reward is self-acceptance and self-love. So fourth chakra demise. Without relationship to the self, reflective consciousness is impossible. We have to really be able to be very reflective on ourselves, and we're cut adrift, we're disconnected from our ground, we're lost and lonely, and end up seeking our ground through another person, wanting to fall in love with another person. And then that other person becomes our reality, and the weight that we impose on them to become our reality usually drives them away. And then we lose all the energy we've invested in them, including pieces of ourselves. So have you ever found yourself saying something like, oh my God, I gave him everything, or I gave her everything, and how could she leave me, or how could he leave me? So when we give someone else everything, we're really bankrupting ourselves, and we lack a center to which others can be attracted, because quite simply, no one is home, and there's no one inside of us to love, because we've given ourselves away. So are you in a love relationship right now where you're giving too much of yourself away? And are you denying yourself and leaning on them too much for your support? So in order to start a new productive, balanced relationship, we have to unravel our primary relationship patterns. And this really begins with our parents. And these are our patterns of rebellion, acceptance, rejection, obedience, also our initiative, our guilt. And then our current relationships provide a training ground for the process of this growth. And so now we're going to enter into the meditation. And then there'll be time for sharing. So go ahead and just get comfortable in your chair, in your seat, and setting up a golden pillar in every corner of the room. Good. And then filling your room with pearlescent gold, and all four walls with pearlescent gold. and the ceiling with pearlescent gold. Good, excellent. And let's just ground out anything that's not present time. So just grounding the future and the past into the earth, and say hello to the earth, opening up your feet chakras and bringing in that earth energy to the soles of your feet, your ankles, your calves, your knees and your thighs, and your pelvis, and dropping an anchor deep, deep, deep into the earth. Yeah. Beautiful. And let's go back into our meditation sanctuary at least 3 inches behind our eyes. And take a walk around, light it up, and drop an anchor down from there. Then ask yourself what percentage of you is in present time. And just take note of that. And getting underneath a huge shower of fluorescent gold energy, just clearing your whole auric field of anything else remaining that's pulling you out of present time. Any emotional issues, trauma, difficulties, mental stuff, your to-do list, all that, just releasing that. And let your life force color or symbol come down into your crown chakra and fill your whole auric field. And then all the way down your back. And around up your front. Excellent, good. And now just doing a look at your auric field all the way around. Are there any cuts or tears or dents, indentations, and using a beautiful rose gold energy, do a self-healing in the auric field. Just intend that area to be healed. Excellent, good. Good, and then let's look at our first chakra and do just a nice gold wash through your whole first chakra, grounding it, and then bringing in a beautiful ruby red, as if there's light, sunlight shining through a ruby. And seeing it connect into the earth below. And then the second chakra, beautiful, and our third chakra. And our fourth chakra. And just take a note, does your fourth chakra look like it's in balance with your third? And if it isn't, then how can you make it in balance? Ask your system to balance your third and your fourth chakra. Great. And then asking your fourth chakra to see if it's in excess or deficiency or if it's balanced. And ask it to come up to 100% intimacy level, intimacy with self. And balance between male and female. And balance between reaching out and taking in. As you're reaching out and you're taking in. Just imagine that you could have a blueprint of the perfect heart chakra for yourself. Balancing spirit into matter and matter into spirit. And what's your compassion level at from 0 to 100%? And raise your self-compassion to 100%. Just flood yourself with self-compassion, releasing any self-judgments and releasing any jealousy. And just being with and loving any wounded parts. Excellent. Now going back and asking, is your fourth chakra balanced now? And see if you get from 0 to 100%. See what you get. And whatever the gap is between 100% and what you got, see if you can see where that is in your system. And just light that up in gray. Make it gray, whatever that is that's blocking your heart from being truly integrated. And then let that drop into the earth. And what this does is it neutralizes the energetic charge. So it doesn't necessarily take it away, but it neutralizes the energetic charge so that you can consciously change and shift it at a future time when it has less of a charge with it. Good. Good. Okay. And then just ask, is there anything more you need to heal in your heart? See if you get a yes or no. And if it's a yes, what do you need to heal it? Like, do you need more information? Do you need more time? Do you need a therapist? Do you need to have an important conversation with someone in your life? Beautiful. Wow. It's so beautiful. Okay, good. And then just asking for that feeling to take place. And then making a connection from your heart chakra, anchoring it into the earth, and linking it with your root chakra. And your second chakra. And balancing it with your third, your sense of self-empowerment. And balancing it with your fifth, your communication. And balancing it with your sixth. Good. And then balancing it with your eighth. Which you haven't done quite yet, but that's okay. So just rounding out your auric field again, asking what percentage of you is in present time. Good. And having you given yourself 100% permission to heal your heart chakra. And then I just want you to see the next 6 days of the week with you moving forward with this upgraded auric field and upgraded chakra system, going into the week and doing the things, saying the things, communicating the things, being with the things Maybe journaling or being with yourself, maybe going into nature, maybe having a good cry, maybe getting something off of your, resentment out, and just seeing what you need to do during the week to continue to heal your heart chakra. And if you have an excessive heart chakra, maybe what boundaries, seeing yourself setting healthy boundaries. Yeah. Excellent. Good. Excellent. And then just seeing yourself go through the next month. We are continuing to heal and grow the capacity of your heart chakra, your capacity to love and be loved, to build upon that love, to deepen the love that you already have, to be open to new love, to love back, to be open to more compassion and more self-empowered love and self-love. Yes, and more balanced boundaries. Good. And seeing all of that for the rest of the months of the year. Allowing yourself to be touched, to take in, to fully receive. Allowing yourself to reach out to others when you need. To be grateful, to be compassionate, to be caring. Good. Excellent. And to be balanced in your feminine and masculine. And this completes the meditation tonight. The recording will stop and I'll remain open for another 10 minutes for any sharing or questions, and also any sharing about the previous week's first, second, or third chakras. Thank you so much.